now Turkey. A lot of people are accusing Turkey, Turkey, as of serving as an colonialist master when it comes to the disputed island of Cyprus. Now, we believe that the southern part of the island is controlled by Greece, while the northern part is controlled by Turkey. What more can you say about this? As a journalist and as an international relations expert, is it fair, is it okay for us to criticize Turkey when it comes to Cyprus?
I think it's not fair, first of all, but let me remind our audience that this is a long history about the disputed island of Northern Cyprus or the southern part, Cyprus. But let's not even forget that the people inhabiting the region, which is Northern Cyprus, are themselves Turks, right? And these people, they have the right to also either go for a referendum or to choose what kind of administration they want. So in a nutshell, the battle, the war that has been fought in the disputed island, I think it's an issue of sovereignty. It's an issue of sovereignty that has to be, taking control of your territory, trying to, what we call the territorial integration of Northern Cyprus, or making the life of the people there better. So the Turkish administration, decades ago, when the war was fought, it's found it's legitimate to rescue the Turkish people there, and it's of course send its forces to fought the war in order to maintain the territorial integrity of the Northern Cyprus. And keep in mind that the Northern Cyprus, the administration, they are still in love with Turkey. And if you ask the people there, they look themselves as the Turkish people, and they want to have the sense of belonging to Turkey. So it's of course disputable internationally, but I will tell you that the Turkish government finds it legitimate, and yet it's legitimate when you even ask the people there, because it's not by force that Turkey occupied the island or occupied it in the sense that for its own benefit. No, it's for the benefit of the people, and it went there to rescue the people who were in dire need when the war was fought. So it is legitimate, and Turkey recognized it as a Northern Cyprus. And of course, we have some organizations or a few countries that recognize the Northern Cyprus as an independent sovereign nation. I would say that according to the Turkish law, international law, of course, this has to be with history. Historians will tell you more than I can. In nutshell, I would say it's the Turkish government found it's legitimate, and the Northern Cyprus administration also found it legitimate that Northern Cyprus is a sovereign nation, and that's all I can say to you.
Yeah, and now that there is no war taking place there, isn't it the right time for the Turkish government to say, okay, you guys are free from my control, whatever the word might be, go on, have your own sovereign nation, have your own system of government that you want? Isn't it the right time for the Turkish government to do that, given the fact that a lot of media organizations, including yours, are reporting about the crisis that is happening, the diplomatic crisis that is happening between China and Hong Kong? It's also like the same thing applies there.
In Turkey's history, Turkey has never occupied any country. It has never occupied any country against the will of the people. So like I said, Northern Cyprus issue is
Turkey
a disputed issue.
Northern Cyprus.
Turkey has never occupied Northern Cyprus. Listen to me very carefully.
It is influencing it.
There is no an issue
based on the will of the people.
Occupation is something different, and influence is different. You influence people either through your soft power. I can influence you through the way I behave, through the way I dress, through the way I speak. And it's your own interest to follow the way I dress, to follow the way I speak. Voluntarily, you as a person, you can say that, yes, I admire such person because I want such person to be my role model. And you can do this without force. That's what we call soft power. So Turkey has never occupied any country, be it Northern Cyprus. It has never occupied Northern Cyprus. Like I mentioned, Turkey, it found it legitimate to fight the war in order to rescue the people there. The people, they wanted Turkey's assistance from enemies. And that's why Turkey was involved in that war to rescue the Turkish, especially the Turkish people there, because they have the same roots per se. So it was there to rescue its Turkish brothers and sisters. However, let me mention again, it wasn't an occupation. So it rescued the people and it gives them independence. Northern Cyprus is a sovereign nation itself now. It's not under Turkey's occupation or administration. In Turkey, it has its one province. We call them the cities here in Turkey. Northern Cyprus is not under Turkey's administration. Of course, Northern Cyprus may admire Turkey's administration, the people, the language, the dressing, the food, what have you, but Northern Cyprus has never been under Turkey's occupation. And diplomatically speaking, I mean, in the sense that Turkey, whatever is doing, it's never looking for force. It's always used diplomacy. Even the dispute now is still ongoing, the South versus the North, the Greek island, you know, the Greek saying, okay, this is what we are looking to bring solution to the two parts, to the two sides. But Turkey has never been, you know, using force or force people to take their own, you know, agenda or idea, but it uses international organization, particularly the United Nations, all the recognized international bodies to be there diplomatically, you know, to use diplomacy rather than force. And until recently, Turkey has been using diplomacy more than its force. Force is a last solution, and in the sense that when it's in dire need, but Turkey, let me remind you, tell our audience that Turkey has never occupied any nation. And so whatever the situation we're facing now, Turkey uses diplomacy more than force.
I got that point, but there is another point that a lot of people are criticizing Turkey or Turkey for, that is jailing journalists. Turkey is not like a safe haven for journalists to practice their journalism freely and independently. In the UK, the BBC World Service can criticize, can lambast, can, you know, censure the British government and, you know, get away with it. But in Turkey, it's hard for the TRT World to produce or present any program, any reports that criticizes the Turkish government. What can you say about this?
Well, it depends on how you define the freedom of speech. It depends on how you understand press or the right to express yourself. Every nation has its own laws and orders. Every nation has its own guidelines and restrictions, be it the United Kingdom, be it the United States, France, and be it Turkey. So here in Turkey, whoever told you Turkey is not a safe haven for journalists, I will counter that argument in the sense that I'm also a journalist and I do what I want to within the scope of freedom of speech. You cannot accuse someone. I cannot accuse you, Umar Isa Dandago, without a legitimate reason, without a legitimate, you know, concrete evidences that will tell people this is what I found you guilty of. So lots of what we see is that people or whoever, tell the world that we are the champions of freedom of speech, tell the world that Turkey is not a safe haven for press, it's not a safe haven for journalists. They accuse Turkey of something which is not a legitimate evidence. I will say this. I mean, I, as a person, use a common sense. You cannot just throw accusation against someone without providing a legitimate evidence, be it something that happened, or be it a speech that somebody said we're not going to allow media because they have this social identity, so we're not going to allow them to operate in our country. You cannot accuse the government of saying this, or you cannot show an evidence which shows that social person is being jailed because he tells the truth. There might be something. If you commit a crime, and as a journalist, let's not forget, even if you're a journalist, it doesn't mean that you are an angel. This angel protected from or immune from committing, immune from being punished, or immune from committing something wrong. You are a journalist, you have to be very careful with all the accusations, all your findings, the way you report to the people. So if you cannot tell the people a story, or tell people whatever arguments you're trying to propose without a backing concrete backgrounds, I mean concrete evidences, so whenever it's backfire, you have to face the consequences, of course. I cannot, not even the Turkish government, Nigerian government, or even a lay person on the street, I cannot accuse that person just because I'm a journalist, saying, oh, I'm the journalist, so I can just accuse through accusation just to gain spotlight, international spotlight, or to get recognition. No, it doesn't happen. It's not ethical, it's unethical. So you have to get a concrete evidences before you launch accusation against. So a person who told you that Turkey is not a safe haven for journalists, I will challenge those people and tell them that whoever commits a crime, of course, must face the wrath of the law. So if you are a journalist,
including criticizing the Erdogan's government,
criticizing everyone, not even Erdogan per se. If you criticize somebody and that person feels, I mean, it pains that person has the right to launch, to open, to
file a case. In
exactly,
the case.
to apply to the court, to apply to the law for that person to get his or her own rights. So you cannot just accuse not even the government, even the person.
Let's make this. Yeah, let's make it categorically clear. Are you saying that the BBC World Service criticizing heavily British government, or the CNN criticizing the American government, they're all doing this, both of them are doing this to get spotlight, to get international recognition and attention. They're not doing this based on facts, figures, and evidence. Is that what you're saying, to be clear?
I'm not saying, briefly, I'm not saying that they don't have backing evidences or facts and figures to accuse the government of those nations, be it the United Kingdom, the media outlet. They may accuse the Prime Minister Downing Street of doing something which is against the law. Of course, the COVID party, many things that happen in the UK politics. There are evidences. If you have those evidences, you can back your arguments. I'm not saying you don't report them, even if it's a government, if it's a person. Of course, as a media, you have to tell the people the right thing. But do you have the evidence? Yes. So perhaps the reason why we cannot accuse someone is because we don't have those sufficient backing evidences to accuse that person. I'm not.
What if somebody from Washington, D.C. or London gives you some evidence that suggests Turkish government is doing one thing wrong or the other? Would you accept it and go on with it?
You see, we are not run by Washington, or we are not run by London. We have our editorial independence. So whatever we do, we carefully use our own editorial guidelines, and be it even an accusation against the government here. Of course, we have to do it confidentially. You cannot report a story which you haven't reached out to that person and just launch an accusation without getting a response from that person. Even if we get an accusation against, be it the government or somebody, we have to confidentially reach out to that person. How will you
confidentially means
confidentially? confidentially, you had like you reach out to me. Do you want to speak to me?
Secretly.
It could be secretly.
Under the carpet.
Exactly. You know, I mean, you can reach out to that person. You can reach out to that person. Do you wish to speak about so accusation? And do you find it's what's, you know, defending by yourself? Then it's your own choice or right to defend it or to say no, to decline it. And when you don't have a voice from that side, let's assume you don't have the voice to the side, then there is an issue here, issue of conflicting reports. If you don't have one side, we better leave a story which we don't have a response. So if you don't have a response,
what about reporting the report, the issue, and then saying to the world that, okay, we haven't got any clear response from the Turkish government on this issue and that issue?
I mean, the Turkish government, whatever accusation that has been launched against the Turkish government, it's always has its own directory of information, especially the directory of Turkey's directory of information or the spokesperson of the government. Though there's each new day, you will have accusations against the government or accusation against an institution here, which I believe the institution here or the government itself is responding to those arguments, to those accusations at the right time. So we don't need to even say, of course, we do report accusations almost every day, like saying the US says so something against the Turkish government, but then this is the response, or without even saying the accusation, but then saying the Turkish government has defended, has responded to so accusation. You can enter the Turkey's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is dealing with international affairs. Most of this accusation is also responsible to respond to these accusations. And I believe the Turkish officials, they are doing the right thing. They never wash anything under the carpet and let it go. Whatever accusation that has been launched against the Turkish government is trying its best to tell the people the right thing. I mean, its answer, its response to those accusations. The Greek officials have always accused Turkey of sending refugees through its water, of pushing refugees through Europe, but Turkey has always brought out facts, evidences. We as journalists, we got these videos of Greek coast guards, these are securities, you know, within the water, pushing refugees back to Turkey. So the video you can show of the Greek coast guard pushing or beating or hitting refugees, and then you see wounds, scars on the bodies of refugees. These are all evidences. And when you launch accusations saying Turkey is the one, is inhumane, is sending refugees, there is nothing you show as an evidence to accuse the government. But the Turkish government, I can tell you, it has those videos captured under the water, how the coast guards are beating people, refugees, like animals. I'm sorry to say this.
This is a total violation of human rights.
Human rights, thank you. And so when you accuse the government or you accuse the officials here, I believe even if we are not reporting, the government itself, there are right institutions that respond each day. There are right institutions, right officials that respond to those accusations. So we never wash anything under the carpet. Whatever comes to us, we try to report it balanced and fair.
Okay, that's really good. We are running out of time and we have got a few minutes to go, but there's one thing that we have not touched. I'm particularly interested in the way you are responding very passionately and trying to back your arguments with the facts because of the fact that you are studying international relations, and that's really significant. But another thing that we need to talk about here is that the roles of Turkey in Africa, the Turkish role in Africa. Your thesis, your PhD thesis is focusing on the roles and influence of China, which is very much an ally of Turkey, their roles, both of them in Africa. What can you say about this? Are the roles of China and Turkey more of positive or negative towards the African continent?